This is my audience. My name is Roger Powless. I am here tonight to discuss with you or to bring information on the topic of marriage and divorce. Marriage and divorce in our society today, at one time, were strangers. One is far to the left and one far right to the other. The two never quite met. But today, in today's society, 2013, we see that marriage and divorce is much more commonplace than ever before. Just like this salt and pepper shaker, when we go out and we eat somebody's house, when we see one, we're used to seeing the other. They go together. When we say one, we automatically go to the other. So is the saying today, it seems, with our attitude in America towards marriage and divorce, where one was thought taboo and never to be dreamed into, today is taken as lightly as maybe going and reading a comic strip or watching a comedy on TV. My first point is, point one, divorce is a common thing and has long-lasting effects on the family. This is so very true. The divorce does not only affect those parties involved, the husband and the wife, but also affects the family, the friends, the community, the workplace, everybody outside of that. It affects a totality of everybody, it seems like. And the more we see it, the more it affects. So beyond our own recognition, we understand society has totally become engulfed within the idea of a divorce mentality. Fagan and Churchill stated in an online article in 2012, they say that divorce weakens children's health and longevity. It also increases behavioral, emotional, and psychological or psychiatric risk, including suicide. None of us here who have ever experienced divorce in one form or another would never want to enter in if we knew the results that it brings about. If we knew it would affect our children this way, I don't think anybody would ever want to enter in knowingly to divorce because of this. Divorce also damages society, consumers' social and human and economical capital. Though it may be shown to benefit some individuals, in some individual cases, overall, it causes a temporary decrease in the individual's quality of life and puts some on a downward spiral from which they might never, ever recover from. Divorce is final. Divorce is one of those things that there are people who get divorced and maybe get remarried to the same person or mate all over again. But you can never undo the harm that it does to those who were involved initially, from the family, from the husband and wife. When they get divorced, their friends have to choose. They usually have married friends, therefore their married friends must choose back and forth who are we going to stay friends with. So therefore they are affected by that divorce and in some ways divorce themselves. This brings me to my second point. Despite the negative effects, Americans generally do not take marriage vows seriously enough to avoid this dance of divorce. Families would not have nearly the problems that divorce brings upon the units if they let God be the head of the house. This is so very important, him being the house. I've been married for 27 years, heading on 28, and I can tell you, I know the time, the discipline, and the workings that it takes to stay married and be committed to that other person. It's not something we enter into lightly. It's not something we can do very easily. But it's something that if we do it, we choose to do it, we must commit to it. From the control of airbags, regulations, America will do almost anything for its children. Yet they won't stop divorcing at a rate of nearly 50%. It's an overwhelming amount of social science research that shows children of divorced parents pay a high price, physically, mentally, and emotionally. This brings us to our third and final point. There's a solution, so don't worry. There is a solution to this divorce epidemic. It's to understand God's values he places upon marriage, and anyone who enters into this sacred covenant should also value it the same way, the same standard, and the same height of importance and priority. Genesis 2:24 states, "A man shall leave his parents and shall cleave to his wife, and they shall become one." When you become married, you rely upon each other. You don't go into it saying, well, if this don't work out, I'll go into another. I'll go into another. I can always do it again. This is my first of many more marriages. I've heard the joke that's been given. And we all laugh because it is somewhat funny. But now we're seeing the effects of that. And it's not so funny anymore. That was stated from the King James Bible. With this, our motivation We understand that we must take marriage much more seriously today, and again, value what God values and avoid the choice of divorce and to choose marriage. We've got a choice to make. We're free moral agents. We can choose to live for Christ or live not for Christ. We can also choose to be married or choose a divorce. The problem is, in today's society, it seems to be the norm to choose the divorce. There's always an easy way out. It's never my problem. I've got legalities and lawyers that will allow me to get out of this if I so need to. And this brings us to our conclusion here. We live in a divorce-minded society. We must, if we ever decide or desire to change the tide and the flow, the mentality of society of America or anywhere else in the world on divorce and marriage, we must separate the two, not each other. We must separate divorce and marriage from the conversation and stick to marriage. By doing this, we cling to the one and we leave the other. The same way we cling to Christ when we get married, as it says in Genesis 2:24, we cling to our mate. If we're clinging to that one, we don't have time, the energy, or the strength, nor enough hands to cling to something else that might draw us away. It's when we stop clinging that we fall away and we fall apart. We must never forget the lifelong effects that divorce brings, but never seek the true understanding of the eternal effects that marriage brings. In conclusion here, in my final statement, I just want to say, protect your marriage at all costs. By doing this, you will fulfill God's will and desires in your life, or our lives. My challenge is to analyze your situation, make God the center of your life, and glorify God in your marriage for generations to come. And remember this final thought. If we choose to quit on our marriage, we will quit on God. And there is nowhere to go as a society except down from there. Thank you.